And good morning, everyone. Here we go, another edition of Sports Medicine Weekly on this Saturday morning. So happy you are with us. I'm Steve Cashel. I'm the Chicago Bulls radio host, joined by my co-host, Dr. Brian Cole. He is an orthopedic surgeon for Midwest Orthopedics at Rush, head team physician for the Chicago Bulls, and one of the team physicians with the Chicago White Sox. Our website is sportsmedicineweekly.com to access prior shows, interviews, valuable resources on sports, injury, and fitness. Go to the new blog at smwhome.net or sportsmedicineweekly.com. Dr. Cole, how are you on this Saturday morning?
Doing great, Steve. It's amazing that we're almost to the end of December.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And you guys
really
have been busy. And we talked about that last week, right?
Yeah, this is a total blur. This month has been a complete blur for me just because, I'm working a lot. It's been, we were doing surgery basically 4 days a week, Saturdays, just to help get people in. It's a surgery. Deciding to have surgery is a very big deal, and it's inconvenient on top of it. So people are off work, they get vacation, kids coming home from college are off for high school breaks. All an important time. If you got to get something done, this is a great time to do it. So, and I always feel badly if I can't, deliver when someone comes in there. Like, I'd like to get it done now. I'm like, I walk up to Samantha or Valley. I'm like, I've got another one. You can squeeze them in, and they kind of roll their eyes, and they're like, you just asked that the last 5 times.
Yeah, exactly.
There's only so much they can do. But I want to help these people, and I want to get them back. And I'm very sensitive to the fact that now they have their time off. They want to get it done. You can imagine.
I've heard some good things about MOR, Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. You guys are growing. I live in Naperville, and You're bringing out an MOR to Naperville?
Naperville is far, dude.
35 miles to our studio down
crazy.
Here. On a Saturday morning, it's not a bad ride. When I go home from the Bulls, not a bad ride. But coming in to do
brutal.
A Bulls game, it could be 2 hours. So
we got to talk to Michael, see if we can get you the helicopter, because that is really rough.
I'm so used to it. I've been doing it since 1991, traveling. Well, I haven't lived in Naperville that long, but no, you're bringing up Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. That's great.
Yeah, so we're opening. We're going to be opening about mid-year, I believe. That'll be the timeline in Naperville, which is really good for us because we have a large western suburban presence, and they're driving into the city like you, and it'd be nice to be able to be out there for them. And we're hiring more physicians that will service that are equally excellent. They're into teaching, research, academics, and they're great clinicians and they have great training. We're hiring another sports person, another hand person, another joint person, and so forth. And then we have the Rush Orthopedic Building in Oak Brook, which is opening now at the end of December. And that's a beautiful facility off York Road in Oak Brook. That's the first presence that Rush has had in Oak Brook, and it's a 100,000 square foot building. It's the first floor is basically Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. The second floor is Rush Physicians and Specialists, and the third floor is a surgical center on the entire floor. And we have a sports performance center there where we will emphasize training, research, therapy, injury prevention, recovery, after shoulder surgery in our pitchers, and after shoulder and elbow surgery, I should say. After knee surgery, we're working on programming to prevent injury and to more rapidly get people back to play. We have a gait analysis lab there. We have a video analysis where we can look at throwing mechanics and gait and so forth. So it's a very high-tech facility that is helping bring us to the next level that we're really excited. This has been 5 years in the making, and we've just opened. So we now have presence in Oak Brook, which is great for our patient base.
Are you going to go between all the different facilities?
Yeah, it's hard for me because I want. This is something I've been very involved with. It's a really beautiful site, and so it's what it does do is it splits my time. So I'll be doing surgery there 2 or 3 times a month, and I will be seeing patients there twice a month. I'm going to split it with my Oak Park office. Just to make it easier for patients to get to us, but adding drive time adds inefficiency. Now we live in the opposite of you. We live in the city, but it's okay. I think it'll be kind of nice to have a little change of pace.
Easier parking out there. Welcome to the suburbs.
Yeah, there you go.
A little easier, better air too.
Yeah, I may be doing a little bit of Uber.
All right, Dr. Cole, I want to reference an article I saw here. This is either in the Baton Rouge or some New Orleans paper called The Advocate. And the title of the story is LSU ACL Study Aims to Advance Sports Medicine into New Era. This is a big deal. Dr. Cole, what they're stating is that in the 1990s, physicians across the United States had standardized cutting out the middle third of the patella tendon, which stretches from the kneecap to the tibia, and using it to replace the ACL. But then LSU coach Nick Saban, who was their coach many years ago, suggested an alternative back then, saying that when he was at Michigan State, a player had recovered much quicker because the surgeon had used hamstring tendons to replace the ACL instead. So all of a sudden, the LSU doctors are doing this, and they are raving about it.
Yeah.
Well, how do we take an article like this?
With a grain of salt. How's that? Okay.
Yeah.
I wish I had the opportunity to respond, but this is to the article itself, in writing.
Yeah.
But I'll just tell you, this is my feelings. If we've published this, if you go around the country and ask physicians who take care of high-level athletes in the NBA, the NFL, and MLS, 85% will use the patella tendon. That's the central third of the patella tendon, right in the middle of your
To
knee.
repair the ACL?
To reconstruct the ACL as a replacement. And the reason people started looking at hamstrings initially was because there was this belief that the incidence of pain in the front of the knee after surgery was higher with patella tendon grafts. But we've been doing it in basketball players for years, and the incidence of anterior knee, I would never do it in a basketball player if it would predictably lead to anterior knee pain, right? So we've had tremendous modifications that lead to our ability to use a patella tendon graft, which is generally at least as the reason it's good is we can always predict the size. The problem with the hamstring is that we don't always get a big graft, and it's a smaller graft. So, and there are some technical issues with harvesting it for some people. Look, in the end, you do the graft that works best for you, but the article, what they say is that because they choose the hamstring, they can get them back to play faster.
Yeah.
And that to me is preposterous, and I'm going to tell you why. The reason we don't get people back to play routinely in 4 months is it's not necessarily the strength of the graft or the morbidity, the downside of how you take the graft, the side effects of taking it. We need to rehabilitate them to get them to a level that they won't tear their ACL again. That is difficult to do in 4 months' time, right? So in my opinion, it's less about the graft and it's more about the athlete's ability to rehabilitate, to get rid of those 4 or 5 risk factors that led to the ACL tear in the first place. So people talk about accelerated rehab and things like that. If they can't demonstrate the ability to jump and land and cut and pivot and accelerate and decelerate without decompensating with their core and so forth, they don't deserve to go back to sport because the risk can go up by 30 to 50% of a re-tear. So it's less about the graft choice. You can't just rehab them faster because they did a hamstring. I think that's not accurate. So I think it's a misguided and unfortunate statement, in my opinion, based upon what I know of the literature. And frankly, I've published probably 20, 30 papers in this area. And this is one thing I would say I know my stuff,
yes,
okay?
Absolutely.
And it's not just me. This is a team of people that we collaborate with that are very, very bright. So I'm not so sure I agree with the article.
Fair enough. We got to take a break. When we come back, we've got a real interesting guest coming on, Spencer O'Brien, a female professional snowboarder from Canada who is suffering from rheumatoid arthritis and severe anemia. Wow, we're going to talk about how an Olympic athlete deals with a condition like that. Stay with us. Steve Cashel, Dr. Brian Cole. You won't want to miss the next segment. It's Sports Medicine Weekly, only on
670 The Score.